The wife who wasn't character details. Evelyn Martinez, 42. An elegant woman with rich brown skin, expressive eyes, and natural curly hair that frames her face like a crown. She wears a striking emerald green blazer with gold buttons, projecting confidence and grace. A delicate gold necklace rests against her collarbone. David Martinez, 45. Her husband of 15 years, a senior architect at Morrison Associates. Claire Thompson, 38. David's colleague and secret lover. Marcus, 58. The observant security guard at Morrison Associates. The morning sun painted golden streaks across Evelyn's kitchen counter as she arranged fresh roses in a crystal vase. 15 years of marriage had taught her the language of small gestures. She'd taken the day off from her nursing job to surprise David at his office with lunch. His favorite, homemade lasagna and tiramisu. As she drove through the city, Evelyn hummed along to old jazz on the radio. She thought about how David had seemed distant lately, working late, distracted at dinner. But today would be different. Today, she'd remind him of what they had built together. Morrison Associates occupied the 7th floor of a sleek downtown building. Evelyn had only visited twice before. Once for the Christmas party. Once when David forgot his anniversary gift at his desk. The lobby gleamed with polished marble. Behind the security desk sat Marcus, a silver-haired man with kind eyes that had seen too much of life to judge it harshly. Good afternoon, Evelyn said warmly, approaching the desk. I'm here to see my husband, David Martinez. Marcus looked up from his crossword puzzle. His expression shifted. Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, perhaps. Or was it pity? Ma'am, he said slowly, his voice gentle. I am afraid I can't let unauthorized persons past this point. Company policy. Evelyn smiled, assuming he simply didn't recognize her. I understand. I'm his wife, Evelyn Martinez. I have his lunch here. I wanted to surprise him. The silence that followed lasted only seconds, but it felt like hours. Marcus set down his pen. He looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Then he smiled. It was a sad smile, a knowing smile. Ma'am, he said quietly, I see the wife every day. There she is, coming out right now. Evelyn turned through the glass doors that led to the elevators. A blonde woman emerged, tall, polished, wearing a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than Evelyn's monthly salary. She was laughing, her hand resting casually on David's arm. David, her David, looking at this woman the way he used to look at Evelyn. They walked toward the exit, completely absorbed in each other. They didn't see her standing there, 20 feet away, holding a container of lasagna, watching her marriage dissolve in real time. Evelyn didn't move, didn't breathe. Her mind struggled to process what her eyes were seeing. The woman leaned closer to David, whispered something in his ear. He grinned. That boyish grin Evelyn fell in love with 17 years ago. Marcus cleared his throat softly. Ma'am, I'm sorry. I thought you knew. The words broke through her paralysis. Evelyn looked at him, this stranger who had just witnessed her humiliation. But there was no judgment in his face, only compassion. How long? She whispered. 6 months, I'd say. Maybe longer. I'm sorry. David and the woman disappeared through the revolving doors, into the sunlight, into whatever life they were building while Evelyn's crumbled. She stood there for a long moment, the weight of the lunch container suddenly unbearable. Then she set it carefully on Marcus's desk. Would you like some lasagna? She asked, her voice surprisingly steady. Marcus smiled sadly. I'd be honored, ma'am. Evelyn didn't go home. She drove to the park where David had proposed, sat on their bench, watched the ducks glide across the pond. Oblivious to human heartbreak, she didn't cry. Not yet. First, she needed to think. 15 years. She had given him 15 years. She had supported him through graduate school, working double shifts at the hospital. She had forgiven his moods, his occasional coldness, his growing distance. She had blamed herself for not being interesting enough, attractive enough, young enough. But this was different. This wasn't distance. This was betrayal. This was a choice he made every single day for 6 months. Her phone buzzed. A text from David. Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. The lie sat there on her screen, casual and practiced. How many times had he sent this message? How many times had she believed it? Evelyn closed her eyes, remembered the vows they took, for better or worse, in sickness and in health. But those vows required to people, and somewhere along the way, David had stopped being her partner. She thought about confronting him, screaming, throwing things, demanding explanations. But what would that accomplish? He'd made his choice. The only question now was what choice she would make. Over the next 2 weeks, Evelyn became a detective of her own life. She checked their bank statements, found charges to expensive restaurants she'd never been to, hotel rooms downtown, jewelry she'd never received. Her nurse's salary had always gone to bills and savings. His architect's salary had apparently gone to Claire. She hired a lawyer, quietly. A sharp woman named Patricia who had seen 1,000 stories like this and never lost her capacity for outrage on behalf of her clients. Document everything, Patricia advised. And don't let him know you know. Not yet. So Evelyn played her role, the oblivious wife. She made dinner, did his laundry, asked about his day, listened to his elaborate lies with a smile on her face and ice in her heart. But she also started preparing. She moved money to a separate account, photographed documents, saved text messages, built her case with the precision she used to build patient care plans. At night, when David slept beside her, probably dreaming of Claire, Evelyn lay awake and planned her future. A future without him. The thought was terrifying and liberating. In equal measure, 3 weeks after the lobby revelation, Evelyn returned to Morrison Associates. This time she was expected. Marcus smiled when he saw her. Mrs. Martinez, how are you? I'm getting there, Marcus. Thank you for your kindness that day. We all need kindness sometimes, he said simply. Evelyn took the elevator to the 7th floor. David's boss, Mr. Morrison, was expecting her. Patricia had arranged the meeting. What she shared in that office wasn't revenge. It was truth. David had been using company resources for personal matters, taking extended lunches billed as client meetings, using the company credit card for his affair. Small infractions, perhaps, but infractions nonetheless. And Claire was engaged to the vice president of Morrison's biggest client. A detail David apparently didn't know. A detail that made their affair not just immoral, but potentially catastrophic for the firm. Evelyn didn't embellish, didn't need to. She simply presented facts, documented carefully, and let Mr. Morris draw his own conclusions. That evening, David came home early. His face was pale, drawn. We need to talk, he said. Evelyn looked up from her book. Do we? I was let go today. There were accusations about misusing company resources, about improper conduct. He ran his hand through his hair. Evelyn, I don't know who would do this. I've always been careful about hiding your affair, she said calmly. The silence in the room was absolute. David's mouth opened, closed. How long have you known? Long enough. She set down her book. I met Claire, actually. Well, I saw her in the lobby. The security guard thought I was her. Can you imagine? He sees your wife every day, he said. Every day for 6 months. David, Evelyn, she held up her hand. I've filed for divorce. You'll be served tomorrow. I've documented everything. The restaurants, the hotels, the jewelry you bought her with our money. You'll find I've taken half of our joint savings. I'm entitled to more, but I only want what's mine. The house is in my name, remember? My inheritance paid for it. David sank into a chair. This is... Evelyn, please. We can work this out. I made a mistake. I'll end things with Claire. I'll do whatever you want. Do you love her? Evelyn asked. He hesitated. That hesitation told her everything. I thought so, she said softly. Then this isn't about winning you back, David. This is about me choosing myself. Finally, after 15 years of choosing us, choosing you, I'm choosing me. The divorce took 4 months. David tried to fight it at first, but his lawyer was no match for Patricia. Claire disappeared from his life the moment her fiancé found out. The vice president pulled his business from Morrison Associates, and David found himself unemployable in the city's tight-knit architectural community. Evelyn sold the house. Too many memories in those walls. She bought a smaller condo with a view of the river, went back to school for her nurse practitioner certification, started saying yes to invitations she'd declined for years because David didn't like her friends. One Saturday morning, 6 months after the divorce was finalized, she returned to Morrison Associates building. Marcus was at his usual post. Mrs. Martinez, he said warmly. Or should I say Miss Martinez now? Evelyn is fine. She set a container on his desk. Lasagna. Homemade. I never did thank you properly. Marcus looked touched. You didn't need to do this. Yes, I did. You gave me the truth when you could have looked away. That took courage and kindness. They talked for a while. Marcus told her about his own divorce 30 years ago. How it nearly broke him. How he rebuilt himself piece by piece. How he learned that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is also the best thing, because it forces you to become who you were always meant to be. You're going to be fine, he said as she left. Better than fine. I know, Evelyn said, and she meant it. 2 years later, Evelyn stood in the same park where David had proposed, but this time she wasn't alone. Her colleague from the hospital, James, sat beside her. They'd been friends first, then something more, something built on honesty and respect and genuine affection. Tell me the story again, James said. About the security guard. Evelyn laughed. Which part? The part where he thought I was the mistress, or the part where I brought him lasagna to say thank you? The part where you decided not to fall apart. The part where you chose yourself. She leaned against him, watching the ducks. I think that's still my favorite part too. Life has a way of humbling us, she thought, of bringing us to our knees so we can learn to stand again. David had betrayed her, yes, but in doing so, he'd freed her. Freed her from a marriage that had become a prison. Freed her from being small to make him feel big. The woman in the emerald blazer who stood in that lobby 2 years ago, shocked, humiliated. Heartbroken, she was gone. In her place was someone stronger, someone who knew her worth, someone who understood that kindness to others must begin with kindness to yourself. Marcus had been right. Sometimes the worst thing is also the best thing. Sometimes the wife who wasn't becomes the woman who is. In the end, betrayal taught Evelyn what loyalty never could, that she was enough, that she had always been enough, and that truth, however painful, is always a gift.